The Avengers are seriously overrated and wouldn't last a minute against some of Marvel's lesser-known heroes. Imagine Squirrel Girl's empathy disarming them, or Nighthawk using his secret dossier to exploit their every weakness. The Avengers are not as tough as they seem. It's time to root for the underdogs. Let's kick off our countdown with number 6, the 90s hero who might not be a household name but packs a serious punch, Darkhawk. Also known as Chris Powell, this hero can transform into a powerful android thanks to his alien amulet, granting him enhanced strength, speed, and durability. He can take flight, unleash devastating energy blasts, and even project a protective force field, not to mention those awesome glider wings that define his silhouette. Darkhawk's suit is incredibly adaptable with its cool morphing ability, allowing him to adjust to different combat situations. He possesses an accelerated healing factor, quickly recovering from injuries, but the real kicker is Darkhawk's connection to the Data Song, a universal hive mind that links all Darkhawks across the cosmos. This connection gives him access to a vast database of knowledge and even the potential for mind control. Imagine the chaos he could unleash against the Avengers, turning them against one another or predicting their every move. Think of Darkhawk as a potent fusion of Iron Man and Spider-Man, but with even more versatility. He could challenge Iron Man with his energy blasts and force field, rival Spider-Man's agility, and even give Thor a run for his money with his ability to teleport through stargates. This ability to teleport could be a real game changer against a powerful opponent like Thor. Moving on to our next contender, we have Dr. Walter Knull, better known as Stingray. This brilliant oceanographer and engineer designed a powerful battlesuit that grants him superhuman strength and durability, making him a force to be reckoned with both in and out of the water. He can glide through the air with specially designed fins, swim at incredible speeds, and even unleash potent electrical bolts, adding a shocking element to his offensive capabilities. His suit is equipped with advanced sonar scanners, enabling him to detect even the stealthiest of opponents, a skill that would be invaluable against sneaky Avengers. As an added bonus, Stingray's suit provides him with radiation protection, a crucial defense against powerhouses like Iron Man or the Hulk. While often perceived as an aquatic hero, Stingray's powers are surprisingly effective on land as well. His strength is comparable to the Hulk's, allowing him to go toe-to-toe with the Green Behemoth. The electrical blasts from his suit possess the power to stun even the mighty Thor. His extensive experience fighting alongside Namor against formidable foes like Tiger Shark has honed his tactical knowledge to a sharp edge. Just imagine the epic clash if Stingray were to take on Iron Man in an underwater battle. That would truly be a battle for the ages, showcasing the full potential of his unique abilities. Don't let the seemingly whimsical name fool you. Squirrel Girl is one of the most deceptively powerful heroes in the Marvel Universe. Doreen Green, blessed with squirrel-like abilities, possesses superhuman strength, agility, razor-sharp claws, and, most importantly, the unique ability to communicate with and command squirrels. She even has retractable knuckle spikes for an extra dose of combat effectiveness. Her track record speaks volumes. She's taken down formidable foes like Dr. Doom, befriended the planet-devouring Galactus, and even defeated a clone of the Mad Titan, Thanos. Squirrel Girl's physical prowess rivals that of Spider-Man, and her ability to communicate with squirrels effectively grants her an army of furry allies, ready to swarm and overwhelm opponents at her command. Beyond her physical and communicative abilities, Squirrel Girl is also incredibly intelligent and resourceful, often outsmarting her adversaries with clever tactics. However, what truly sets her apart is her profound empathy. She might be able to de-escalate a conflict with the Avengers by appealing to their better nature, or perhaps even sow discord among them, turning them against one another with her surprisingly effective persuasive skills. Who knows what kind of brilliantly unorthodox plan she could devise to defeat the Avengers, proving that underestimation can be a grave mistake.
In at number 5, Toxin. Looking like something that would cause a string of awful nightmares for any of the Avengers, the Toxin symbiote is a force to be reckoned with. Toxin is so bad that when the symbiote arrived, even Carnage was like, yo, Venom, we gotta destroy this thing. But then Venom was all like, no, can we keep him please? I'll raise him myself and train him to be our friend. Carnage attempted to actually kill the newborn symbiote, but ultimately failed, which led to it attaching itself to a New York City cop named Patty Mulligan. If that super Irish name isn't enough to scare off the Avengers from a fight, you can be certain that its symbiote Toxin will do the trick just fine. Even Venom and Carnage understood how powerful Toxin was, which prompted them to form an alliance. However, Toxin had become far too strong, and in the end, they were defeated. The interesting thing with this symbiote is that it's attached to a police officer. This deception of an inkling of good within Toxin could be enough to fool the Avengers into their own demise. In at number 4, Red Hulk Ghost Rider Venom. Red Hulk Ghost Rider Venom. What a name. What a bunch of names all merged into one. You better believe that even the Incredible Hulk would be looking for an exit strategy if this super-powered symbiote came knocking. The Red Hulk, who was already possessed by the spirit of vengeance at the time, ends up also getting his big red hands on a symbiote as well, making this already overpowered creature even more crazy to face. Now, typically extreme heat is enough to get a symbiote to leave its host, but for whatever reason it stays bonded with the Ghost Rider Red Hulk. This should definitely be a cause for concern for any member of the Avengers. With the symbiote's main weakness now virtually non-existent, this could spell some serious trouble for our favorite heroes. Plus, him yelling vengeance should be enough to send all those in front of it running for their lives. In at number 3, Grendel. Remember how imposing Carnage was for the Avengers in our previous point? Well, get ready for Grendel. Grendel originates as one of the fleet of dragon-shaped symbiotes controlled by Knull, and as such traveled the cosmos with its buddies to devour entire civilizations. In its original form, it was trapped in a glacier by Thor, but pieces of the beast had already fallen to Earth and bonded with human hosts. After a lot of back and forth with the Grendel symbiote, it ultimately bonded with Carnage, creating this all-new bloodthirsty predator with a goal of being the one to resurrect Knull to restore chaos in the world. When Carnage used the Grendel symbiote to free Knull, he was instructed to consume the codexes of all the other symbiotes, which led to Grendel becoming the symbiote complete. The scary thing with Grendel is his ability to infect people and animals to do his bidding, even sending them out on missions as we saw him do in Web of Venom Unleashed number 1. In at number 2, Zed XZ. To get a real understanding of how terrifying Zed XZ is, we should look no further than a quote by the Oracle who said, "My lord, it is a monstrosity, it feeds on people, it consumes their brains." That description is dead on to what exactly this strong symbiote is capable of doing. It's far more unique than the rest of the symbiotes in that it feeds off of its host's brains like a zombie rather than its adrenaline. However, much like the other symbiotes, Zed XZ can mimic any type of clothing or surrounding, making it that much easier to go unnoticed as it feeds from the brains of the Avengers. Lastly, on our number 1 spot, Knull. Of all the symbiotes, Knull is by far the strongest and also one of the biggest threats for the Avengers if it ever came down to it. Knull is an ancient malevolent deity who predates the universe itself, so yeah, we think he can destroy the Avengers, no problemo. Upon the creation of the universe by the Celestials, Knull woke up and crafted a sword of living darkness, aka the All Black. He didn't wait long to use it either, quickly decapitating one of the Celestials, causing him to be cast back into the void. I mean, he literally gave life to all of the symbiotes that we've mentioned, and all of which would happily do Knull's bidding if given the opportunity. As a primordial god of darkness, Knull not only has superhuman attributes, but powers that far exceed any human and even some of the greatest deities.
And at number 10, Taskmaster. Taskmaster's got some pretty neat abilities. After injecting himself with a Nazi-created primer, aka a modified adrenal steroid cortisol, his mind's procedural memory potential was unlocked, allowing him to absorb knowledge immediately. This extends to his muscle memory, meaning when he sees someone fight he can mimic their moves, making him a rather difficult individual to battle since he can predict what other characters will do next in a fight. The only person who manages to evade this ability of Taskmaster's is Deadpool, due to the character being so darn unpredictable. In the comics, Taskmaster actually has defeated multiple Avenger characters, including Hank Pym's Yellow Jacket and the Wasp, and managed to fight both Iron Man and Captain America without completely getting his butt kicked. While it would be really darn lucky if Taskmaster managed to defeat the whole team, he's still got a decent chance of throwing them off guard and getting the upper hand if coming at them unprepared, or if they fought him with no knowledge of his abilities. Although these days in the comics he's considerably less threatening, having joined the Secret Avengers despite having a history of being a sleeper agent. Moving on to number 9, Cyclops. Cyclops is one of the original X-Men members, meaning it's likely that in the future of the MCU, whenever the X-Men are introduced, we'll be seeing Scott Summers make an appearance, running with the good guys. But he isn't always good in the comics. During the Avengers vs. X-Men story event, Cyclops was a major threat to the Avengers, and like the main antagonist in that story arc. A subjectively speaking. In this story arc, Cyclops becomes possessed by the Phoenix Force, and he essentially conquers Earth, which forces the Avengers into hiding. Cyclops would eventually lose control of the Phoenix Force, becoming Dark Phoenix, and he would kill Charles Xavier. But he is later defeated by his daughter Hope Summers and Scarlet Witch. Not saying that we'll be seeing Scott's more nefarious side anytime soon, but it's something that once upon a time was a prominent threat, so who knows how things may pan out in the future. And at number 8, Modok. Modok is a villain that's existed in the comics since 1967, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And in case you're wondering, his name stands for mental organism designed only for killing, or at least that's what he made his name stand for. The M also sometimes stands for mobile or mechanized, might I add. Anywho, he was initially an employee of AIM before they used him for an experiment, which turned him into Modok, and he rebelled against them, taking over AIM in the process. He's not only got a superhuman intellect in that big ol' head of his, he's got psionic powers and the ability to calculate probabilities too. Here's the thing though, the likelihood that we'd ever see Modok entering the live-action MCU doesn't seem super viable. Recently, the character was announced to be getting his own animated series on Disney's streaming service, and it seems to be an adaptation that will make the character more of an anti-hero rather than a flat-out villain. Plus, I don't think anyone ever wants to imagine the possibility of Modok manipulating Carol Danvers into thinking he's a hot little piece that she can make out with. Yes, that actually happened in the comics. Moving on. In at 7, Dr. Doom. Victor Von Doom may not originate as an Avengers villain, but he's come into conflict with the team in the comics many a time, along with some of their members individually over the years. He's perhaps one of the most nerve-wracking villains thanks to his abilities. Victor is a scientist, a sorcerer, an inventor, and a polymath with a genius-level intellect. He can manipulate electricity, project and absorb energy, create protective shields, and can summon demons thanks to that sorcery. But perhaps his most defiant traits are his remarkably indomitable will and his code of honor. He once saved Captain America from drowning because Cap had saved his life in the past. He knows how to take advantage of a situation and can be cunning and manipulative when he needs to be. Combining technology and sorcery has made him quite deadly. Now that the rights for the character and the Fantastic Four are in the hands of Marvel Studios and Disney, I'm sure we'll eventually see Dr. Doom make an appearance in the MCU. Whether or not that'll have anything to do with the Avengers though, who knows? And at number 6, Thanos. Technically this is true. The first time around in Infinity War, Thanos defeated the Avengers and was successful in his plan to eliminate half of all living things in the universe. And then in the Prime timeline in Endgame, he used the stones to destroy the stones before Thor decapitated him. The second time around in Endgame, when 2014 Thanos showed up on the Prime timeline, he almost defeated them again if it weren't for Tony Stark sacrificing himself to kill off Thanos and his army once and for all. All of the spoilers in this number. Needless to say, if another timeline Thanos popped into the Prime timeline again, we know that the Mad Titan would be one hell of a threat for the Avengers, with or without the Infinity Stones in his possession.
Ultron is an interesting character. The amount of times they have almost succeeded in destroying all of humanity and the Avengers is honestly pretty impressive. And while Ultron may have not succeeded fully in taking the Avengers out, they have at least taken down one Avenger at the time seemingly permanently, for a while seemingly permanently, because this character was gone for a long time until recently. That would be their creator, Hank Pym, aka Ant-Man. Ant-Man ended up being merged with Ultron, and although initially it was believed that he was still alive in there but just existing within a shared consciousness, we would actually later learn that he did not actually survive this process, and it was instead at that moment that he became deceased, despite some of his physical form still seeming to survive. However, as of Avengers Inc., Hank has returned, but still, for a while there, he was pretty perma-dead. The Progenitor is really a superhero who humbled the Avengers by simply judging them. The Progenitor put the Avengers to a test in multiple ways. One of the ways they actually challenged the Avengers and all of the heroes of Earth's strength was when they came to judge humanity. The other is when they challenged the Avengers in the way of their own capability, as Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, was actually one of the Avengers to work on creating the Progenitor, and even after that, the Progenitor still was not made to be a hero. Literally helped make the Progenitor, and then the Progenitor turned around and was like, actually I'm gonna judge all of humanity now. Not a great look. And this was a Celestial that was of course also based off of Tony Stark's nervous system. It was partially based off of Tony, and yet still not a hero. So what does that say about Iron Man? I do not know, although I love that Iron Man still got judged with a thumbs up. Hilarious. But regardless of this, the Progenitor also tested each and every Avengers member on a one-on-one basis. When they decided that humanity might not be worth saving, the Earth might not be worth saving, and in order to decide, they would actually have to judge each person on Earth individually. Some Avengers succeeded and passed this test, and some Avengers failed their tests. But ultimately, they opened themselves up to be judged by the Progenitor by being part of the Progenitor's creation, and also kind of put the entire world at stake. So Yeah. Speaking of villains who just love to pull the wool over the Avengers' eyes, which of course many on our list have tried here, up next we are talking about Mephisto. During the 2021 Heroes Reborn event, Mephisto was revealed to be basically the big bad behind all of this. Heroes Reborn, or this version of Heroes Reborn anyways, was a world in which the Squadron Supreme were the premier superhero team of the world, being known there as the Squadron Supreme of America. In this reality, there were no Avengers here, there was only the Squadron Supreme, and we'd later learn that Mephisto was actually the one behind creating this Squadron Supreme and was actually in league with, get this, Phil Coulson. Yeah, in this event, Agent Phil Coulson, he's also evil. It was pretty crazy. Fortunately, in the end, the Avengers were able to figure out what was going on, fight back, and change the world back to normal, but still, it was pretty crazy that Mephisto was even able to change the world so drastically to begin with, and the Avengers were just like, I don't know what happened. I don't know. It was weird. For the most part anyways. I'm not even disappointed in the Avengers for being humbled by this next villain here. We're talking about Magus. Magus is the evil alternate of Adam Warlock, kind of like his evil twin. Basically. Magus's main thing is the Church of Universal Truth, which inherently doesn't sound very evil based on the name or bad, but it is actually very evil and very bad, just trust me. At one point, he threatens all of Earth's heroes when he attacks Earth with doppelgangers of each hero. Just as he is a dark reflection of Adam Warlock, each hero on Earth then has to face a dark reflection of themselves, and it's during this attack that he actually threatens to basically completely overthrow or, conquer Earth and all of its heroes. Immortus is an interesting villain. Technically, Immortus is also Kang the Conqueror, but Immortus is also an alternate version of Kang from sort of like a different timeline. Time-traveling villains, time-traveling people, it's weird. Immortus has been a foe of the Avengers multiple times and has done a few things to humble them, especially specific members. For this point, I'm mostly going to talk about Iron Man and Captain Marvel. Immortus made it so that Iron Man would be a sleeper agent working for them, activating them and turning them on their own team, the Avengers. In the end, Tony did rise above Immortus' influence and ultimately sacrificed himself to save his team, going back to the side of good in his final moments, but it was a pretty devastating blow having their own team member turn on them and threaten to defeat, well, pretty much all of them at the behest of their nemesis, Immortus, aka kinda Kang. When it comes to Carol Danvers' interaction with Immortus, I'm actually more talking about Immortus' son here, Marcus Immortus. Still, it was through learning from his father that Marcus was able to take and also forcefully seduce Carol, and later managed to convince her to basically run away with him and leave the Avengers, which was a whole weird thing that happened. It wasn't good, but it also goes to show you just how influential Immortus can be and how dangerous he can be through that influence. And here I tried to save the best and honestly kind of the most spoilery, most recent one for last. That is if you've been reading current comics, because this one is coming at us from Blood Hunt. For those who haven't been following along with Blood Hunt, it's the newest event over at Marvel Comics, at least at the time of this recording. It is an event that we're going to see throughout the summer. The whole of the Marvel universe is going to have to band together as they deal with a massive global vampire invasion. And in issue number 1 of Blood Hunt, the Avengers are already not looking so good when they come up against a group known as the Blood Coven. The Blood Coven are a group of vampires that have fed on supernatural blood and basically each have supernatural traits. They use their powers, their special abilities to take on the Avengers, and in their first encounter pretty much handily defeat almost all of them. Yikes. Not only do they defeat the Avengers team, but they also defeat one of their sort of members as well, who is also like their headquarters, and that's their base that is known as the City, which is a member of the team as well because the City also has sentience. You know what's bad? When the Avengers are down and so is their base. Number 10, Black Widow. Sorry Black Widow, but there isn't any way you are making it out of a fight with Gorr alive. He's had billions of years of experience when it comes to destroying and defeating gods, and I don't think your spy skills are going to save you in this battle. I'm sorry Black Widow, I love you, but it's just not gonna cut it. Also, if we're talking MCU Black Widow, I mean, that'd be a really easy fight because she's dead, so yeah. The best shot that Black Widow might have in terms of a comic book Black Widow obviously is to distract Gorr and get him monologuing, to bide her some time to put a miraculous tactical plan into action, but even then I do not think it would be enough. Gorr has thousands of years of combat experience, which means that whatever Black Widow threw at him, he likely could just push through, and even if initially he wasn't victorious, Eventually, he would be. Number 9. Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is a member of the Eternals. In the Eternals film, he was one of my favorite characters personally, played by the amazing Don Lee. Unfortunately, in that film, he was killed by the Deviants. Gilgamesh joined the Avengers in the comics back in the 1980s. Originally, he was known as the Forgotten One, but he would take up the name of Gilgamesh during his time on the superhero team. Normally, Eternals aren't so easy to kill, because when they die, they can come right back. And instead of being brought back as like android-like synthetic beings that are created by the Celestials, like in the movie, they were once humans who were simply altered by the Celestials to be a superpowered immortal race in the comics. They can be resurrected instead by a giant system known as the Machine that is integrated with Earth. But needless to say, Gilgamesh's superior strength, fighting skills, and immortality would still not be enough to stop Gorr. He was used to defeating godlike beings such as Gilgamesh every day, all the time. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want to show our channel some love on another platform, head on over to Facebook and give us a like, give us a follow, do all the Facebook stuff. Number 8. Quicksilver. Quicksilver is known for being one of the fastest superheroes in Marvel Comics. If we use the term speedster at Marvel, which I don't think we do, we know him as one of the greatest ones within that universe. One of the greatest speedsters. More of a DC thing. Quicksilver, like his sister Scarlet Witch, ended up joining the Avengers, leaving the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and Magneto, who Wanda felt they were basically indebted to. Like Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver became a hero while working on the Avengers team. And you might think his speed would be enough to keep him safe from Gorr, but something you'd be forgetting is how relentless Gorr the God Butcher is, and how he can pretty much make almost infinite copies of himself, each made from a part of himself as he's bonded with the All Black, so he can just basically like pop up other versions of him all over the place. I've seen what happens when Quicksilver gets mauled in his own series and Avengers tie-in, Quicksilver No Surrender, and let me tell you, he doesn't fare too well. While Quicksilver can run away, he can't run forever as he does get tired and needs to rest, even with his superhuman stamina and speed. And this, I imagine, would ultimately be his undoing if Gorr didn't kill him before that. Number 7. Vision. Vision, being an all-powerful android, alas, would not protect him from the reach of Gorr the God Butcher. I doubt Vision or his maker in the comics, Ultron, would be able to stand against Gorr, even if they were joined up together. While Vision might be smart, Gorr just has way more experience when it comes to defeating those that stand against him. And while it's never explicitly stated, I don't think, that Gorr has defeated any gods of technology that either represented that concept or were in fact made of technology, it is implied that he's defeated gods of all kinds in the comics, which would likely include technological gods. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that Gorr had taken on Phalanx, who ruled over the Technarchy, or the Phalanx's creators themselves, Titans, which were basically AI societies that evolved into a singularity, who he could easily see as tech-based gods. And if he could down a Titan, he could certainly down Vision. If Ant-Man were small, Gorr would squish him like a bug. If he were big, he would just rip out his giant heart. The reality is that Gorr has taken on bigger beings than Ant-Man. At one point, he downed an Elder God, smugly brandishing its heart in victory. What's worse is that Gorr is also somewhat of an inventor and kind of, in a way, a scientist like Hank Pym was. And he's definitely capable of thievery like Scott Lang once was. Although Gorr usually prefers to kill those he generally steals from, as many of them are gods, so his version of stealing is more like murder and then steal the thing. Gorr actually uses the heart of the Elder God he defeats for a deadly and evil project that he's working on, a god bomb intended to destroy all the gods, ending their reign over the cosmos once and for all.
Typhoid Mary presents a uniquely dangerous threat to the Avengers, a lethal combination of raw physical prowess and potent psychic abilities. She's not merely a skilled martial artist, capable of holding her own against seasoned fighters, but also wields the destructive powers of pyrokinesis and telekinesis, making her a formidable opponent in any engagement. However, her most dangerous weapon lies within her mind, her capacity for mind control. She could effortlessly turn the Avengers against each other, manipulating Captain America into into a weapon against Iron Man, or compelling Thor to unleash his full, devastating power upon his own teammates. Her unpredictable nature, coupled with her manipulative skills, allows her to sow discord and chaos within even the most cohesive team dynamic. This is a woman who once held the Kingpin, a figure of immense power and influence, as her husband, demonstrating her exceptional ability to manipulate and control even the most powerful figures in the criminal underworld. This history proves that she has the capacity to manipulate the Avengers, turning their strengths into weaknesses and their unity into a liability. Typhoid Mary's ability to exploit the Avengers' trust and internal dynamics makes her a threat that goes beyond simple physical confrontation, making her a truly dangerous foe. Though often classified as an anti-hero, Frank Castle, the Punisher, possesses a history of violent conflict, particularly with Daredevil, rooted in their diametrically opposed ideologies. Where Daredevil adheres to a strict no-kill code, the Punisher believes in lethal justice, a philosophy that makes him a terrifying force. He is a master of strategic warfare, a weapons expert, and a seasoned practitioner of guerrilla tactics, demonstrating a willingness to confront any target, regardless of their power, including the Avengers. Imagine him launching a meticulously planned assault, exploiting their vulnerabilities with ruthless efficiency and turning their own strategies against them. His unwavering determination, coupled with his vast arsenal of weaponry and tactical expertise, would allow him to inflict serious damage upon Earth's mightiest heroes. He wouldn't engage in a direct head-on confrontation. Instead, he would utilize his knowledge of their weaknesses, employing hit-and-run tactics, setting traps, and using their own powers against them. His ability to blend into the shadows, his mastery of various combat styles, and his absolute lack of remorse make him a terrifying and unpredictable opponent capable of disrupting the Avengers' cohesion and inflicting significant casualties. The Hand isn't just one villain, it's an army of deadly ninja assassins. They're masters of stealth martial arts and espionage, and they have a knack for turning heroes into villains. They could infiltrate Avengers Tower, taking out the heroes one by one, or even resurrect fallen enemies to fight alongside them. Imagine an endless wave of Hand ninjas, bolstered by resurrected villains the Avengers have already defeated. The Hand is a relentless force, and their numbers could overwhelm even Earth's mightiest heroes. Nuke is essentially a super soldier gone wrong. Enhanced by the same program that created Captain America, Nuke possesses incredible strength, a healing factor, and a relentless, almost insane drive. But unlike Cap, Nuke is unstable and easily manipulated. Imagine him unleashed upon the Avengers, a weapon of mass destruction with no regard for collateral damage. He could cause devastating damage before they could even figure out how to stop him. Bullseye is the assassin who never misses. He can turn anything into a deadly weapon, and his accuracy is practically superhuman. He could take out Hawkeye with a paperclip, or disable Iron Man's suit with a well-aimed projectile. He's a master of improvisation and a cold-blooded killer, and that makes him a serious threat to even the most powerful heroes. Muse is a terrifying combination of artistic talent and homicidal tendencies. He's a serial killer who uses his victims' bodies as art installations, and he has the power to become virtually invisible to Daredevil's senses. This makes him a nightmare for the Avengers, who lack Daredevil's heightened senses and wouldn't even know he was there until it was too late. Imagine him stalking the Avengers, picking them off one by one, turning their headquarters into a macabre masterpiece. He's a predator, and his unpredictability makes him incredibly dangerous. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, is the undisputed ruler of crime in Hell's Kitchen. He's not just a powerful crime lord, he's also a skilled fighter with incredible strength, but his true power lies in his influence and resources. He could hire an army of villains to attack the Avengers, or manipulate the media to turn public opinion against them. He's a master strategist and a ruthless opponent, and he could bring the Avengers down from the shadows. Hold on to your hats, Marvel fans, because coming in at number 3 is a hero who could give Batman a run for his money. Kyle Richmond, the enigmatic Nighthawk, is essentially Marvel's answer to Batman, a master of the shadows and a formidable force in his own right. A skilled martial artist and brilliant strategist, Nighthawk further enhanced his abilities through a special alchemical serum. This serum grants him peak human strength, agility, and durability, especially amplified during the nighttime hours, making him a true terror in the darkness. He possesses a unique second sight, an ability that allows him to anticipate his opponent's next moves, giving him a significant edge in combat. But here's the real game changer. Nighthawk, in a morally ambiguous move, has stolen a detailed dossier containing comprehensive information on how to defeat each member of the Avengers. Armed with this knowledge, he could meticulously exploit their weaknesses, turning their own strengths against them. Imagine him launching a stealthy nighttime assault against the Avengers. They wouldn't stand a chance against his calculated attacks. Nighthawk's fighting prowess and strategic brilliance could easily rival Captain America's, and his array of gadgets could give even Iron Man a serious headache. With the stolen dossier in his possession, he essentially holds the ultimate cheat sheet for dismantling the Avengers, making him an incredibly dangerous adversary. Get ready for a cyborg showdown, because next up is the one and only Deathlok. Deathlok, the ultimate cyborg soldier, is a force to be reckoned with, boasting superhuman strength, speed, durability, and a truly devastating arsenal of weaponry. He can seamlessly interface with computer systems, possesses enhanced senses that allow him to perceive the world in ways humans can only dream of, and even has the ability to regenerate from injuries, making him incredibly difficult to put down. Throughout his history, there have been multiple iterations of Deathlok, each with unique abilities and technological upgrades, adding to the character's versatility. He's capable of tracking multiple targets simultaneously, making it nearly impossible for the Avengers to escape his sights. Deathlok's sheer power and advanced technological enhancements could potentially overwhelm a majority of the Avengers. He possesses the strength to trade blows with the Hulk and the weapon systems to challenge even Iron Man's advanced armor. Furthermore, his ability to hack into computer systems could give him control over Stark technology, turning the Avengers' own tech against them. However, there's a critical caveat. Deathlok is programmed with a no-killing parameter, which could limit his options when facing the Avengers, but also make him a more unpredictable opponent, forced to find creative solutions. And consider this, what if the ingenious Iron Man manages to hack into Deathlok's systems and reprogram him, turning this powerful cyborg against the other heroes? That scenario would undoubtedly be a real game changer, flipping the script on the Avengers entirely. Prepare to enter the mindscape, because at number 1, we have the mind-bending hero, Sleepwalker. Hailing from another dimension, the enigmatic Sleepwalker patrols the mindscape, a realm intrinsically connected to the minds of all living beings. This alien protector possesses superhuman strength and durability, the power of flight, and a unique ability known as his warp gaze. This gaze allows him to manipulate matter at a fundamental level, making him a formidable reality warper. He can also amplify the psychic abilities of others, a skill that could have devastating consequences in the wrong hands. Additionally, Sleepwalker is able to sense energy trails, a talent that would make tracking down the Avengers a relatively simple task. Sleepwalker's reality warping powers pose a significant threat to the Avengers. He could ensnare them in elaborate illusions, drastically alter the environment to his advantage, or even turn their own powers against them in a terrifying display of power. His ability to enhance psychic abilities could make an already powerful telepath like Scarlet Witch even more dangerous, potentially unleashing chaos on an unimaginable scale. Imagine him infiltrating the Avengers' minds while they sleep, subtly manipulating their dreams and turning them against each other before they even wake up to confront the threat. However, Sleepwalker is not without his vulnerabilities. Certain frequencies of light can disrupt his powers, creating a potential weakness. Could a tech genius like Iron Man exploit this vulnerability with a specially designed light-based weapon, effectively neutralizing the threat Sleepwalker poses?
In at number 10, Spider-Man. Nothing would be easier for a symbiote to defeat the Avengers than from within. If a symbiote got a hold of Peter Parker just like it's done before, you can be sure that it would take the team by surprise. Most of the Avengers don't really pay attention to Spidey, and probably wouldn't notice his shift from boy next door to moody teenager. With the knowledge of his teammates though, and the evil of a symbiote infused with him, Spider-Man would put up a valiant fight against the Avengers. When we first saw Spider-Man donning the Venom symbiote in the original Secret Wars series, we never really got a taste of its full potential. Although judging by how jacked he looks in this, we're assuming he would be quite the double agent. In at number 9, Mayhem. This symbiote is an interesting one to say the least. When May Parker was born, sneaky Norman Osborn cloned her and altered the clone's genetic coding to make her the first ever human symbiote hybrid. Now, if Mayhem were trying to sneak into the Avengers headquarters, she could possibly mask her appearance to look like Peter's daughter. This hypothetical would be in the future, of course, but regardless, if Mayhem found a way to deceive the Avengers, she could slowly take them all out without breaking a sweat. Even if she were to face them head on, Mayhem would be a formidable opponent. She possesses all of the same powers as May Parker, Parker does, which includes super strength, speed, agility, and even the spider sense. Additionally though, due to her symbiote attachment, she can form weapons with her hands and shoot out these nasty tendrils from her body. In at number 8, Venom 2099. Also known as Cronstone, Venom 2099 is the half-brother of Miguel O'Hara, so you can imagine the power that this Venom symbiote would have. Kron's whole game is bullying and taking enjoyment of other people in pain. Kron has all the same powers of Spider-Man, so Parker would be an easy match, especially considering Venom 2099's powers and abilities are greatly enhanced from that of Peter's. He's even been able to heal himself from what should be fatal wounds. His skin is completely malleable to the point where he could just slink out of the room like water down a drain pipe. Good luck trying to catch that, Thor. Plus, if Scott Lang was in his tiny mode, he'd drown in Venom's own body. In at number 7, Hybrid. Hybrid, as the name suggests, is a hybrid of 4 of the Life Foundation symbiotes known as Riot, Phage, Laser, and Agony, all of which were killed by Scream and merged into a single super powerful symbiote known as Hybrid. Much like Spider-Man and Venom, Hybrid has the ability to crawl on walls and sling webs. The scary thing with Hybrid is that it too can form bladed weapons with its hands. Combine that with the symbiote's ability to equip its host with fangs and claws, and you can be sure the Avengers would have their hands full. Hybrid's advanced camouflage abilities would certainly come in handy if this symbiote was looking to mimic the exact appearance of one of the Avengers. If Hybrid has to go up against Spider-Man, you can be sure Parker's webbing wouldn't stand a chance, as Hybrid's suit can absorb any chemical including Spidey's synthetic webbing. In at number 6, Carnage. The Avengers have dealt with their fair share of psychotic bad guys in the past, but we believe Carnage would truly put them to the test. Also known as Cletus Cassidy, the heroes would be up against one of the most notorious serial killers ever. During his prison stint at Rikers Island, Cletus would even brag about the dozen or more people that he's killed. So not only would the Avengers have to navigate a person who is proud to kill innocent people, but a psycho with a symbiote attached to him as well. Although Cletus doesn't have the highest of intelligence, the symbiote suit feeds him superhuman abilities that only promote the lust for destruction that the serial killer already has. As Carnage, his strength is actually greater than both Venom and Spider-Man, plus he's even been able to hold his own against Deadpool.
And at number 5, Magus. Who's worse than Thanos? Well, how about the guy who ends up wielding the gauntlet in the comics after Thanos fails? Rather, the guy's evil self. We're talking about Adam Warlock's less ethical other half, Magus. So for context, during Warlock's cosmic travels, he comes across the Universal Church of Truth and their god, a fellow named Magus. Turns out that Magus is himself from the future, a corrupted version who occasionally pops up to screw with Adam. Magus believes that the concepts of good and evil are tools that allow one to change sentient beings and craves all to worship him. And if they don't, he'll just kill them. What about his powers? Well, he's got cosmic awareness, he's a shapeshifter, he can summon the in-betweener, he can manipulate energy, absorb a being's life force, he uses quantum magic, can manipulate time and transmute reality, is psionic, and of course possesses superhuman strength and all that jazz. Overall, he's incredibly deadly. I think I'd probably prefer to stick to Adam Warlock instead. In at 4, Sentry aka Void. Sentry aka Robert Reynolds may have only been introduced into the Marvel Universe back in 2000, but he's definitely not a threat to take lightly. He was granted his powers from a super soldier serum that moves his molecules an instant ahead of the current timeline, although in the Age of Sentry miniseries it's implied that he's actually a refugee sentient life force from another universe. He's a little like Superman to an extent, but said to be omnipotent, who generally holds back his full might. When he was first introduced though, Robert was a depressed chubby dude who started remembering a different past, which unravels the truth, that he existed in the Marvel Universe all along, but everyone's memories have been altered to forget him entirely. This is because Robert was trying to suppress Void, an entity within him who has all the same powers as Sentry does. He can shapeshift, control weather, and create something called Infinity Trendles too, which attacks one's mind in traumatic ways. He's gone toe-to-toe with some of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe as well. Needless to say, you can imagine why the Avengers would prefer Sentry over Void. Moving on to number 3, Mephisto. Mephisto is literally Marvel's version of the devil. He's based on Mephistopheles, the demon from the Foss legend, and first appeared back in the Silver Age in 1968 in The Silver Surfer issue 3. Written by Stan Lee, the character would be a tempter who offered the Silver Surfer the world, dangling his off-limits long-distance lover in front of him too. All things that the Surfer rejected thanks to his goodness and nobility, but thus started a pattern with the character in the comics. He's constantly used as a vehicle for temptation, making deals with the devil, and he's always a character ready to take advantage of a situation. Hell Hell, he even hung out with Thanos while the Mad Titan had the Infinity Stones in the 1991 Infinity Gauntlet series, knowing that the Mad Titan was emotionally unstable. So what makes him deadly? Well, he's an immortal entity with magical powers, capable of a whole lot. He can alter time, alter memories, project illusions, shape and size shift, has superhuman strength and durability. And if his physical form is destroyed, he can regenerate and reform in his home domain. So why make deals with characters? Well, Mephisto cannot subjugate the will of another without their permission, which is why he manipulates them through pacts. So you can see how something like that could get real tricky for the Avengers of the MCU. The closest we've ever gone to that kind of deep-rooted manipulation was likely in Age of Ultron, when Scarlet Witch manipulated their minds. And, well, that kinda screwed a few of them up for a little while, so Mephisto could be an issue. In at 2, Galactus. Next to Thanos, Galactus is one of the biggest bads to ever find himself in the panels of Marvel Comics. But here's the thing about Galactus. He's not evil per se. Rather, the reason Galactus does what he does best, going around and devouring planets, is because he's fulfilling his hunger. He's essential to the balance of the universe. Guess no one filled Thanos in on that, did they? In the MCU, that is. Yet in the comics, Galactus has been a major threat of the planets, having decided on Earth as a planet suitable for his consumption. So, needless to say, he would be a gigantic threat for the Avengers if he ever did come their way. And finally, in at number 1, Korvac. Korvac first appeared in 1975 in Giant Size Defenders issue 3, created by Jim Starlin, who also created Thanos, and Steve Gerber. Initially, Korvac was meant to be a throwaway character, a dude named Michael Korvac who hailed from Earth 691, and went through some serious crap. He was a computer technician who, after the alien brotherhood of Badoon invaded his planet, was punished by them when falling asleep at work, turning his upper body into a machine, essentially making him a cyborg. He's used by the Grandmaster as a pawn in battling Doctor Strange and the Defenders, but after an encounter with the Guardians and Thor, he became a real threat. Enter the Korvac saga. Korvac fled his universe and came to Earth 616, where he stumbles upon Galactus' space station and decides to download Galactus' knowledge into his own body. This causes him to be imbued with the power cosmic, essentially becoming a god, and he decides to reshape Earth into a utopia. Elders of the universe begin to sense his existence. The Collector, in an act of protection, decides to remake his own daughter, Karina, into a powerful being to use as a weapon against him, but she and Korvac fall in love. Korvac is eventually found out by the heroes of Earth and is forced into battle, killing a ton of heroes in the process. And after defeating them all, what does he do? He commits suicide after sensing that Karina doubts him, and in the process restores the Avengers and Guardians to life before he dies. While the Korvac saga has been occasionally criticized for its storyline, you can't deny that he'd make an interesting villain for the Avengers to take on in the future of the MCU, especially now that there's all these alternate realities that are popping up and exist.
Villains don't always win the day, but sometimes they don't need a full victory to embarrass and shame their heroes. Now, of course, Thanos in the comics is still a big deal, but in the MCU, I feel like they beefed him up even more. So much so that a lot of people compare Thanos to Darkseid. Thanos is kind of like Marvel's Darkseid equivalent. Even in the comics, sure, but the MCU reality lifted him up to be on the same level as DC's Darkseid and make him once again worthy of that comparison. Thanos is also obviously super overpowered in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because he is armed with the Infinity Gauntlet and wielding all of the Infinity Stones. If you can survive doing so, this would make almost any character unstoppable. But honestly, even in the comics when Thanos has not been armed with the gauntlet, he has managed to decimate entire planets and threaten the existence of life on Earth and throughout the universe time and time again. It's the Mad Titan's strong will and his determination, as well as his physical might and prowess, that honestly just makes him so deadly. And he's just very committed. He's a committed guy. Which villain do you think is the most committed? Let me know in the comments. Khonshu is an interesting one because most people wouldn't think of Khonshu as a villain. Khonshu is the god of the moon who also happens to be the being that gives Mark Spector, aka Moon Knight, his power set. At least, depending on which story we're reading, but for the most part, that's how it goes. So with Khonshu being attached to a hero, you wouldn't really think that he'd be going up against Avengers, and yet that is exactly what happened in the age of Khonshu here. Khonshu manipulated Mark into doing his bidding, getting him to take from the Avengers elements of their power so that they could use those to fight against a greater threat, which was Mephisto. The problem with this being that while Khonshu did want to do this so that he could defeat Mephisto, who is obviously a really bad guy at the end of the day, Khonshu also wanted to take over Earth kind of and turn it into like an Egyptian afterlife, if you would. In the end, even Moon Knight turned on Khonshu once this was revealed and ended up joining up with the Avengers instead. The group of them were then able to beat Khonshu back together, and he actually ended up pretty much imprisoned. But this doesn't change the fact that through Moon Knight, Khonshu was actually able to humble pretty much everybody on this team here. It's kind of unfortunate what happened to the Chaos King. He actually seemed like a pretty neat villain in theory. The event that he is primarily known for is Chaos War. Unfortunately, Chaos War took place right before the epic Fear Itself event in terms of Marvel chronological print history, and pretty much just became like overshadowed by that. Ultimately, it also felt less planned out. The Chaos King, also known as Amatsu Mikaboshi, is a cosmic entity and basically a Japanese god who met his end during the events of Chaos War, where he was defeated. So we got an Egyptian god and we got a Japanese god. During Chaos War, the Chaos King used his powers to reverse life and death, meaning that dead heroes came back to life while those who had been alive were now deceased instead. As a Japanese kami, he has godlike powers, making him insanely durable and strong, while also having supernatural abilities as well. The Chaos King's powers were more dark in origin though when it came to their magic type. Raquel managed to pull one over on the Avengers and honestly most of the cosmos and all of Earth, after years later revealing that she actually had not died but had been alive the whole time, undercover and secretly scheming to unite the Kree and Skrull empires under the rule of her grandson. It had also been so long that her return was mostly met with confusion from a lot of fans at that point, because many who were reading her reappearance actually didn't recognize her at first. Even I had to do some digging to fully understand the importance of who she was. I finished that issue and was like, huh? Who is this? And then I was like, oh, Raquel, cool. Raquel was once one of the rulers of the Skrull Empire. Unlike Varanki, who was made queen after the Skrull's homeworld fell, Raquel was actually the Skrull Empress back when the homeworld was still around and doing well. Raquel first appeared back in 1979 and would perish in the comics in issue 257 of Fantastic Four in 1983, only a few short years later. She returned a few years ago in the Empire event, where she was revealed to be Hulkling's grandmother, who survived the destruction of Tarnax 4 and who had actually been working, like I said, behind the scenes undercover as a Kree pursuer while putting into motion her plan to unite the Skrull and Kree empires together, which did work and we got the alliance. Number 5. Cersei. Cersei is a member of the Eternals, but for a while she actually ran with the Avengers herself. She is known for being a good friend of Iron Man, and she went on a few adventures with the Avengers team, even joining them for a time and becoming the romantic partner of another Avenger member, Black Knight. Cersei was also a member of the team known as the God Squad as well, and technically as an Eternal, she's pretty much on a god tier level. Eternals are immortal beings who are simply resurrected after they die and have lived for millennia. As such, they are known throughout history as beings of myth and lore. Cersei herself was once known as Circe the Sorceress because of her abilities to see into others' minds, cast illusions, and manipulate matter. However, not even this would protect her against Gorr. Like Gilgamesh, the Eternal mentioned before her, Gorr would not only end both of them, but he would likely also destroy the planet simply to prevent them from being resurrected by the Machine, the powerful system that brings the Eternals back after they die, and like I said, is heavily integrated into the planet. Number 4. Scarlet Witch. Wanda might be one of the most powerful heroes on the Avengers, at least when it comes to magic, but she is also, pretty squishy. She was killed at one point by Rogue, wielding bone claws, and so I don't think Gorr would have too difficult of a time disposing of her, sadly. Sorry, Wanda. Granted, if we're talking MCU Wanda, then he shouldn't struggle really at all. She is possibly gone forever, or will be at the very least MIA for a while after the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. In the comics though, Wanda is a powerful reality warper and chaos magic wielder, but if Gorr managed to surprise her, he could easily eliminate the Scarlet Witch. Number 3. Spider-Man. I really don't want to imagine Spider-Man falling to Gorr in the MCU, especially after we just lost Spider-Man to Thanos and then got him back and everything that happened in No Way Home, but it is very possible. The all-black Necro Sword that Gorr fights with is known for being one of the best and most badass weapons in all of the cosmos. It comes from the same place as Venom comes from, the planet Clintar, and it is actually the first symbiote that was ever forged by Knull, the god of the symbiotes, who at one point ruled that world and who Gorr first stumbled upon when he first learned that gods truly do exist. He merged with the all-black, which is what gives him his power. Being that this is the oldest symbiote in existence, which allows Gorr to create multiple copies of himself at will, and also grants him super strength, shapeshifting abilities, and the power to heal, it's easy to see how Spider-Man, who in the past has struggled against Venom and Carnage in the comics, would be easily defeated. Number 2, Ares. Ares is the god of war, so I think you see where I'm going with this. God. Ares ended up on the Dark Avengers team and was also part of the Mighty Avengers, the initiative. While he might not be on the main roster of Avengers, he seemed like an important one to mention given the fact that, you know, he's an actual god. How do we know that Gorr can beat him? Because, well, Gorr has already defeated a ton of gods, including those that symbolize or represent war, which means that he's already got experience taking down others like Ares. So what's to stop him from defeating this god of war from the Greek pantheon? I'm pretty sure Gorr is also going to destroy Zeus in Thor: Love and Thunder, and it's possible that the other gods of the Greek pantheon, Ares included, will also get decimated by Gorr and the All Black. Number 1, Thor. I know this might be a weird one to have on the list, especially considering that Thor did beat Gorr in the comics, and multiple times too, but hear me out. Typically when Thor has beaten Gorr, it's because he is power boosted or because he has some kind of help. The first time around he had the help of other Thors out of time, as well as the help of Gorr in a way in the form of Agar, his son that he had lost, which he kind of recreated with the All Black, but which really seemed to represent Gorr's own self-loathing at what he had become in a way, an even more cruel god. Aside from that, Thor also had the help of the remaining gods of the universe out there, whose belief in him gave him added strength in his fight against Gorr. So if we had just one Thor versus one Gorr, I'm not sure he would have been so successful. One Thor does not equal one Gorr. You need a few more Thors to balance that scale.
Daredevil, the man without fear, has one of the most unique rogues galleries in the Marvel universe. From psychotic assassins to mind-controlling masterminds, these villains push Daredevil to his limits. But what if these street-level threats went up against Earth's mightiest heroes? It's an intriguing question, especially considering Daredevil himself was once an Avenger. Today we're counting down the top 10 Daredevil villains who could actually take down the Avengers. To create this list, we meticulously compared the powers and abilities of Daredevil's foes to those of the Avengers, analyzing their strengths, weaknesses, and potential for wreaking havoc. This one might come as a surprise, but Bill Torrens, better known as Man-Bull, deserves a spot on this list. Once an ordinary man, Torrens underwent a horrifying transformation after being injected with an experimental serum, morphing him into a hulking, raging bull man. While he might initially appear to be nothing more than a mindless brute, Man-Bull's strength is truly extraordinary, and his unpredictable nature makes him a dangerous wildcard in any fight. His sheer resilience, coupled with his animalistic ferocity, allows him to absorb significant damage and keep charging forward. In the confined spaces of a city street, or even within the Avengers' own headquarters, his close quarters combat prowess would be devastating. The Avengers, often accustomed to facing cosmic threats and superpowered individuals, would likely underestimate Man-Bull's raw power and primal aggression, a critical error that could very well lead to their downfall. His ability to create chaos and exploit any moment of hesitation would make him a surprisingly effective disruptor against even the most coordinated team. Leland Owlsley, the Owl, might initially seem like an unconventional pick for a list of Avengers-level threats. While his primary abilities, flight via gliding and enhanced eyesight, appear relatively minor compared to the cosmic powers of many Avengers' adversaries, dismissing him would be a grave mistake. The Owl's true power lies in his exceptional intellect and ruthless cunning. He's a master strategist, capable of meticulously planning and executing complex schemes that can outmaneuver even the most powerful heroes. He's also a master manipulator, adept at exploiting the weaknesses and insecurities of others, turning allies against each other with subtle whispers and carefully planted seeds of doubt. Remember, this is the villain who orchestrated a hostile takeover of the Kingpin's vast criminal empire, a feat that speaks volumes about his strategic brilliance and ability to control chaos. Given time and resources, the Owl could orchestrate the Avengers' downfall by meticulously planning, manipulating events to his advantage, and exploiting any internal conflicts within the team. He could turn their strengths against them, using their own powers and personalities to sow discord and create a self-destructive spiral. He wouldn't need to overpower them physically, he would simply dismantle them from the inside out. Mr. Fear might seem like an unlikely contender against the Avengers, especially when compared to foes wielding cosmic powers or superhuman strength. However, his power lies in a far more insidious and potent weapon, Fear itself. While certain iterations of Mr. Fear have demonstrated enhanced physical abilities, his primary and most devastating tool is his Fear Gas, a concoction that can induce paralyzing terror in even the most stalwart heroes. Imagine the Hulk, typically a force of unbridled rage, suddenly consumed by his own inner demons, or Thor, the god of thunder, rendered helpless by the horrifying vision of Ragnarok. Mr. Fear preys on vulnerabilities, meticulously exploiting the deep-seated fears and insecurities that even the seemingly invincible Avengers harbor. He delves into their psyches, amplifying their darkest anxieties and turning them into crippling realities. He could even target Scarlet Witch, amplifying the trauma of her past experiences and manipulating her immense power to turn against her own teammates. By exploiting the emotional and psychological weaknesses of each Avenger, Mr. Fear could dismantle the team from within, transforming their greatest strengths into devastating liabilities. He wouldn't need to overpower them physically, he would simply break their spirits and turn their inner demons into unstoppable weapons.